what's the deal with Western Ukraine? I'm going to see for a second if I can pull up the whiteboard map. So there we see a historical map of Ukraine, if you can see it yet.
I can
Maybe
see it.
you can see it. All right.
Yeah.
So basically, if you look at that map of Ukraine, that doesn't look like modern Ukraine. I mean, you can see
Mm.
some of the places, but it goes way over in the west. It goes much farther over, and there's a huge chunk in the east that's now really what we consider Russia. And I noticed
Hmm.
that it's marked that there are Tatars way over, not just in Crimea, but way over in the east again, in what's now core Russia considered.
Near
So
the Caspian Sea, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
by the Caspian Sea, that's right. It says Tatari, and the Kalmyks right above it. Um, so whereas over here on the west, there's a bit of encroachment into what's now Poland. And anyway, so
Uh,
your family, you had told me before, you were basically from Western Ukraine and had been in the Polish sector and were able to get out before the entirety of before basically the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republics boundaries were drawn that would have included where your father's family was from, but they were gone during World War II. Um, it's
okay, I want to clarify something. This is
yeah,
an
yeah.
ethnographic map. This is not a political map.
Let's go back to what is this map that we're looking at?
Yeah, this is basically an ethnographic map. I believe it's from the early 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a political map. It's not showing the state of Ukraine as it was at that time or anything like that. It's basically showing the various peoples that existed around Ukraine, and the red area, the pink area, is basically where a majority of the population was actually ethnic Ukrainian. And that's why it extends so far over. Parts of it go right to the Caspian Sea.
Right, right. That's right. And I guess some of that, when we hear about Ukraine, especially people who've been hearing things that are more favorable to Russia, one of the things they hear is that that whole Eastern thing is basically Russians, and you can see historically that wasn't the case. Um, but of course, the famine, the Great Famine in the 1930s, probably changed the ethnicity a bit. Did the famine affect? No, of course, the famine would not have affected any place that wasn't under Soviet rule. So it only
Yeah.
affected the East.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, central and eastern Ukraine, because
Central.
basically Ukraine was basically, if you go, well, it's kind of hard to explain, so I don't see any numbers on the longitudinal lines. But if you go to the second set of longitudinal lines, beyond that, that was all under Soviet rule.
Yeah.
Only the far western part, the last two longitudinal lines, is where it was actually still Ukraine,
Okay.
but it was under Polish rule. Ukraine
Okay.
was under Poland at the time.
Okay.
But basically, after World War I, Poland took over Western Ukraine.
I,
The
I heard.
Austro-Hungarian Empire was broken up, and Poland took
Yeah.
over Western Ukraine. So,
I'm going to unshare the map so it just goes back to us. Okay. Hopefully that all worked. Um, yeah, and I heard something really strange yesterday. I guess the president of Belarus, Lukashenko, major Putin ally, announced that um, I think announced that Belarus would be supporting Ukraine in its noble fight against Poland, which will now be invading Ukraine. Just like
yeah, I know they're all
crazy.
kind of